Well, with the Republicans making such a big hoopla or big deal out of the deficits and the national debt, I thought I would do this video here. This is the first this image here is from the Center for Budget Priorities. I think it is CBPP, Center for. So in this graph, you can see on the left column you have the deficit in trillions, and the very top there is 1.5 trillion, and you go down to 1.2 trillion, 0.6 trillion, 0.3 trillion. And then you have various bands, the different colors, each band representing a different part of the budget spending. Let me start with the top band, the yellow band. That is the ongoing wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, which are costing billions, right? Okay, and that was started in the Bush administration. Then the next band, and that the yellow band just continues. I guess you're assuming the present situation will just continue. Now, the second band is the brown band. That is the Bush era tax cuts, and the projection is that they're actually going to increase in the size and the lack of revenue coming into the federal government. So in long term, the Bush era tax cuts are going to create a continuous problem down the road, as you see that brown band getting wider. Then we have the light blue bands for the recovery measure and the TARP Fannie Freddie. And as you can see in this graph, they shrink. They start to shrink because they're temporary, and they shrink to practically nothing into 2012. Then the bottom band is the blue band, which is costs incurred because of the economic downturn, which is a lot of that is food stamps, unemployment insurance, because we're spending a lot of money on unemployment insurance extensions, and then that's interest on the extensions, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, it's a lot of this is due to the recession. A lot of the deficit, most of the national debt is due to the recession and due to the spending on the wars, and then the spending on the lack of revenue coming in from the Bush era tax cuts. Now this second graph here is of job creation by decade. Again, as you see on the left, there's the 1940s with 38% increase in job creations, the 50s, 24% increase in job creation, 60s, 31, 70s, 80s, 90s. Well, you get 90s, you got 20% increase. Then in the aughts, that'd be 2000 to 2009, there was a net job creation of 0. So all during the Bush administration, we had very little job creation, which meant that, and then of course we had the recession at the end, which in effect meant that there was no jobs created. And that's, by the way, for the supply siders, that's during the Bush era tax cuts, which should have been a boom, should have been an absolute boom period. We had two sharp downturns under Bush, despite the fact that we had those two great tax cuts that were going to give people money and spur entrepreneurship, blah, 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 blah. Now, the last image I've got is of course, the ongoing divide between the middle class, the disappearing middle class, and of course the upper class, which are cleaning up and making tons of money.